Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Donna. Today's video is part of the 2020 Alphabet Inspiration Card Challenge, and today's letter is the letter C. I'm just throwing up some ideas for as inspiration. I'm going to be using Cajun, Craze, Clubhouse, and Country Club. That's the card we're going to be making today. The stamp set I'm using is, of course, the Clubhouse stamp set with the coordinating golf club dies. I'm also going to be using the Country Club DSP. These items are retiring, so if you wish to purchase them, please head over to my online store and grab them as soon as you can. You will find these products on page 48 of the mini catalog that runs from January to June of 2020. You will need to complete this card a piece of Cajun Craze, 8.5 by 5.5. You will also need 3 pieces of Whisper White. That's basically 3/4 of a page of Whisper White, which are all 5 1/4 by 4. You also need a piece of Crumb Cake, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. As well as your normal supplies, you will also need your stamping blends. I'm using Cajun Craze, Smoky Slate, and Crumb Cake. You'll also need some ink pads, Call Me Clover, Crumb Cake, and Balmy Blue, plus some sponge daubers. I'm going to be using some masking tape or masking paper for this project as well. We're going to start with the stamping using Memento ink. I'm doing the inside of the card right now, and I'm just stamping the sentiment that I chose right in the center. Once I've stamped that right in the center of the inside piece, I'm going to take the Crumb Cake and stamp 2 golf clubs down the corner just to give it something of interest on the inside as well. Now this one I got a little bit of ink where I didn't want it, so I'm just using my Tombow Mono Sand Eraser to remove that. A little pink eraser kind of finishes off and makes it smooth again. Okay, now I'm going to stamp out the golfer on the one piece as well as the little flag and the sentiment for the outside of the card. And the first time I stamped it, I didn't like it, so I just stamped it again. Just going to push those aside for now and prepare this piece of Inka-Dinka-Doo masking tape. What I'm trying to do is have 3 areas on the stamp. The first part's going to be where he's standing. I was hoping it's going to look at like a sand pit or something like that. And then the grassy area, and then a little bit of sky area. I didn't want too much sky. I wanted it mostly grass. I'm just freehanding some hills basically in the background there. They don't have to be exact. I just kind of knew where I wanted the sky to be. And again, this is on the Inka-Dinka-Doo masking paper. It's not on my actual cardstock. The masking paper, I cut it to be slightly bigger than my cardstock size, just so I knew it was going to cover up from side to side. Then I'm going to take a pair of scissors and just simply cut across those 3 lines that I made. Okay, taking the second one from the bottom, I'm placing it towards the bottom where I wanted the mound of sand to be. I'm going to remove the release paper from the back and just stick it right on there, and then I'm going to sponge at the bottom with Crumb Cake. Now you'll see when I do the rest of the card that I actually don't, once I've sponged it, I don't actually cover it up with masking tape. I just try to go up to the line, or if I want, in some cases I actually want to blend the 2 colors together a little bit, and then that's what I would do. Like with the grass area, that's what I did. So just sponging on some Crumb Cake across the bottom. Just have a little bit of, because I don't want any big blobs. I don't want it totally smooth either, because I do want definition in the sand. Just checking to make sure my golfer will sit up there. Now I'll place in the second piece, and I'm going to move on to the Call Me Clover. And as you can see, I'm going right over the line. I didn't want that much green in it, but I didn't realize it was going to make that much difference. So I just went back with some more crumb cake and covered up the mound a little bit more. Removing that, putting it on the next piece up at the top, but then I decided that I didn't want it straight across like that. I wanted another little hill off to the right, so I took the other piece and just covered it up as well. I'm using the same Call Me Clover, but because I masked it off, you can clearly see where the hills are. Okay, and then the top part's going to be the balmy blue where the sky is. Just wash my hands off a bit there. I got a little bit of ink. I am removing it with the Tombow Mono Sand Eraser. You just have to be aware that when you use that, the ink will take differently to that one spot. This seems like a long drawn out process. It really wasn't. It was really quick and easy, and I will reuse those Inka Dinka do masking for another card. Okay, just going to color in my golfer now. I'm using the smoky slate to color in the tip of the golf club, his hat, his shoes. Wasn't sure what I was going to use for the flag. I think I ended up using another pinkish color instead. Using Cajun Craze, that's the dark, to put in the shadows on his pants, and then going over top of it with the light. Usually, sometimes I do it that way. Sometimes I cover the whole thing with the light. Because the stamp has built-in shading, I don't always worry about shading too much, but in this case I did it the other way around, whereas I put the dark down and then the light. For the shirt, I'm using Crumb Cake. This time I did put down the light first, and then decide if I want any extra shading with the dark. And then once I put the dark in, I just go over top of it with the light. I'm using the ivory for for the skin tone on the back of his neck. There's a little bit of in his arms. Very simple coloring. Now at the bottom where he's standing, I wanted it to look like the sand, so I just did some sponged in a little bit of the crumb cake down there as well. These are all going to be die cut out, so they are going to have a white trim. If you don't want the white trim, you could cut off some of it or cut it around it, but I just think going around the golf club might be a little bit difficult because it's so thin, so I didn't bother. So there's the 3 pieces. Now I'm just going to attach everything together. Starting from the inside, I'm putting the inside card with Tombow Mono glue. You can, of course, use your snail adhesive or your favorite method of attaching. Attaching the crumb cake to the front of that, or actually attaching the front panel to the crumb cake and then attaching the crumb cake to the card itself. I'm using a little spatula type thingy just to push the glue so I make sure it's flat and everything is adhered. And now I'm going to place my other die cut pieces. For the flag, I'm going to be using glue dots. I used my little pokey tool just so that the glue dot wasn't going beyond the die cut. Just making sure everything's lined up where I want it to be. The set did come with dies for a golf ball. I just found the golf ball was a little bit almost too big for my scene, so I could have cut a smaller circle, but I didn't think it really was necessary in this case, because I mean, he could have been where he's standing could prevent you from seeing the golf ball anyway, so I just left it. Okay, once the flag is in place, I'm going to take the golfer and attach him as well. For him, what I'm doing is I'm putting a glue dot at the base of his, I can't see it, but it's basically where the sand part was on the image. And then I'm going to put dimensionals on the top part. I just wanted to add a little bit of dimension, but I didn't want the sand to be away from the ground. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the sentiment. Just going to attach a couple of dimensionals on it and attach it as well. For the dimensionals, because the piece is really small, I just cut some of the edge pieces off. They work just as fine, they're just not the full dimensional. And that is the completed card for today. You can also change the sentiment to a Father's Day card. And here's another 2 cards that I made with the same set. The Night of Navy one, I actually did some paper piecing with the Country Club DSP. Just stamped it and then cut them out and applied it to the top. This one I did a lot of, it's very monochromatic in the grays, and I basically just used some sponging to make it look a little bit more vintage. If you'd like to see more of the 2020 Alphabet Inspiration Card Challenge, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified each time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching and be safe.